Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. So last night, I've been thinking a little bit about our friendships and our relationships with other people, and a situation arose which caused me to think about my um, my actions towards other people. I was starting to think about, recently we were in a situation where my wife was not well at all. She had been in hospital, and there are so many people looking after her and supporting her through that, and supporting me and making sure that we were well looked after through the whole thing. Offering to give us meals and pop around to see if we're okay, doing washing for us, all those sorts of things which are extremely helpful and greatly appreciated. And it just got me thinking, in what ways am I missing out on helping other people when I'm able to? In what ways should I be making more of an effort to do things like this for other people? Because it was such a blessing to me and to Verity when others did it for us. So then I pulled out my Bible and last night, and these are the verses that came up. So it talked about doing nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. So doing nothing for our own glory, but instead looking towards valuing others above ourselves, and not looking to our own interests, but interests of others. And I've spoken briefly about this before, but it's a very difficult thing especially when there's a lot of things going on in your own life, to be able to look towards others and see how we can help other people out and understand what they're going through. And we're not always going to be in situations where we can offer our help to other people, or we may be the ones that are needing help ourselves. But I was thinking about what situations, what opportunities that we could potentially miss if we're not attuned to God's plans for us, not attuned to the opportunities He presents for us. And the second little part, at verse 5 of Philippians, where it says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. And I began to think about that a bit more deeply. What actually did Jesus do in his relationships with other people? Now, his overall relationship showed a great amount of love, patience, kindness. All of the qualities of God were shown through Jesus, because he was God in the flesh. I reflected on his willingness to help others in pretty much any situation. He had a mission, he had a goal in mind, he had a clear-cut mission which he was put on earth to do. Yet he allowed himself to take time to spend on others around him, whether it was healing people, whether it was listening to them speak, whether it was giving time to them by speaking to them, giving advice through his parables, spreading the gospel. And quite often it seemed like, and I think of the little girl who was dying as an example. Some of the disciples would have thought, hang on, Jesus, why are you spending so much time with these people when you have a mission? You have other things that are more important, more urgent. But everything happens in God's time. As we find out, he heals the woman, and also makes time to be able to get to that daughter and bring her back to life. So he is never rushed. He is always patient with other people. I think that's a quality that we need to have, that we need to understand that other people are maybe going through some things, and other people may be dealing with certain situations, which means they can't, maybe we can't spend as much time with them as we would like. It might seem a little bit like we're banging our heads against the wall, where, you know, maybe we feel like we're doing all the work in the relationship and there's no give. But, you know, if we think about Jesus, he had patience. He had went out of his way to help others. Every relationship is a two-way street. And then I also thought a little bit about the Pharisees. I thought, well then, if we want to treat other people how Jesus Christ treated other people, my mind went to the Pharisees and how his mannerisms and the way he treated the Pharisees. And there was a bit of some time where he was quite strong. He was, you know, called them brood of vipers, hypocrites. Got quite, I want to say, animated and maybe passionate, if we were to relate it to something that we can relate to. And I just wondered. I thought, how does that fit in our lives? When are the times that we need to be hard in our truths to stand up for what we believe in and be strong in that? After thinking about it a bit more, there is certainly time and a place for that. However, if we lean more towards the side of being patient, lean more towards the side of being kind and loving and giving people the benefit of the doubt, and really just trying time and time again to make that closer relationships with other people, rather than having that hard stance and sending down the truth, the hard truths. Really lean towards that side of being patient and kind. And then if needed, then there may be a time where you do need to stand up, where you do need to be firm in that truth, and firm in the truth that God's way is the right way. And then I think another big key that's in one of these verses is where it says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. So that motivation, that heart behind our actions is key, is super important. If we stop focusing on what we can get out of relationships, I feel like that's when our relationships flourish. I know for one, I can use the example of my marriage. I've used it before. That is the biggest relationship that I have in my life. But when I get caught up in the self-driven, oh, what can I get back? If I do this, then what is my wife going to give back to me? What am I going to benefit from it? That's when things go wrong. That's not to say that when we are giving, and we do have that good heart, that good motivation, that's not to say that sometimes it still doesn't necessarily work out for us. But that's why where it is important to have that good motivation, is because when we are not getting back what we expect, or not getting things back to the same level that we are giving, we are not driven by that. It doesn't matter. That doesn't cause us to stop giving and stop investing in these relationships, because that's when relationships can break and falter, is when basically when one or both stop trying, stop investing, stop giving their thinking of the other person, and start thinking purely about themselves. Another thing that's easy to forget is that sometimes we can be like the Pharisees. And just as much as we like to think that we're not like the Pharisees, they're terrible. Their motivations are just so that they can show other people that they are good. Their motivations is just to tick off check boxes so they get into heaven. They're just complacent. But in so many ways, we can be like the Pharisees and not realize it. There are many times that we can lose focus on God, that we can start thinking about what we can get out of our relationships, what we can get out of life, what just our own selfish desires can take over. We can get busy. We can forget the reason why we do things. We can just get so caught up in the everyday that we forget to have a relationship with God, and one that is real and consistent. And we can frown upon what other people do without realizing that maybe what we're doing is not perfect. Forgetting the fact that each and every one of us is not perfect, that nobody, not even one, is righteous. It is Jesus Christ who makes us. And lastly, I watched a video this morning, Focus of the Family. If you haven't subscribed to their YouTube channel, it's also Sunshine FM plays it. It is a great resource for just with lots of other people giving their input about relationships and marriage and family, and lots of people that have written books and pastors and spent a lot of time in these areas and have some amazing experiences. So if you haven't checked them out, I definitely would recommend it. One that I watched and listened to this morning, there was an analogy that the man spoke about, and he said, I'll use the Mona Lisa because I can't remember the exact painting he was talking about, but Mona Lisa, if you're walking along and it was rainy and muddy and you stumbled along this painting buried in the mud, and you pick it up and it's all scratched, there's mud everywhere, but you realize it's the Mona Lisa. Now there are two options. You could throw it away and think, oh well, this was a world famous painting, but it has no value anymore. It's been wrecked, it's been destroyed, there's mud all over it, it's maybe got some scratches on it. It's worth nothing. Or you could have the attitude of, well, you know what, it's got some mud on it, it's got some scratches, but it is still well worth it. It can be cleaned. We can get rid of the mud, we can repair some of the scratches, and maybe it can be restored. So I think that second attitude is the one that we need to have, that really, in reality, every single person has mud, dirt in their lives. Every single person has scratches and brokenness. But beneath it all is a beautiful, amazing picture that God just wants to get to. He just wants to bring to the surface for everybody to see. So that's it for the video. Some extended thoughts there, a bit of a longer one, but I really hope that whoever watches this gets something out of it. Maybe makes them think about some things in their lives, things that how they can approach their relationships, and if somebody has watched this video and has brought up some interesting thoughts that they could think of, or some experiences that they've had, let me know. Because So I'd also love to hear from other people about their experiences and their stories. So please feel free to do that.